So I'm a day late on getting this recorded, but Zeke signed with the Chargers. Now, there's been mixed reviews. I'm going to say mostly on the why did we do this side of things. And I understand why. First of all, we need depth going into the playoffs. I'm not mad about the signing. I'm honestly more happy and impressed that going into the playoffs, end of the season, we made a signing. Like, that alone feels like such a huge upgrade over what we had for years with Telesco. And it just continues to prove that Ortiz is a man of his word in the sense of he's going to churn this roster over every day. If he feels like there's something he can do to make the team better, he's going to. And so I do just want to talk a little bit about Zeke. Mostly positives, because I feel like the negatives have been harped on enough. So I just want to at least share some data, some stats, and kind of let you make your own decision from there. But at the end of the day, what this comes down to is depth. Hassan Haskins did get stuffed 3 times on the goal line. We're using him as a power back. He's not an extremely proficient power back. I wouldn't consider him necessarily super reliable. We clearly are not using Vidal in a heavy sense. J.K. Dobbins is injury prone. Gus Edwards is injury prone. So, it makes sense. We're going into the playoffs. We need that extra security. So I just want to kind of run a couple things through on Zeke. 29 years old. Feels like he's been in the league forever. He still hasn't hit that year 30 wall. Granted, I think he hit it a little bit early just because he had so much mileage on his tires. He came into the league young. He ran the ball a million times at Ohio State. He's been taking hits for a long time. So did he probably hit that 30-year-old wall a little bit early? Probably. But he's still 29 years old. This year, 74 carries, 226 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. That isn't ideal. I did not go through and dive in and figure out how many of those are goal line carries or short yardage situation carries. I would bet a decent chunk of them. But 3.1 yards per carry is the worst clip of his career. No real surprise, given the fact that he wasn't ever really able to get going in the Cowboys offense this year, as well as he's not the player he used to be. 15 targets on the year, 12 catches, 69 yards, a negative 2.5 ADOT, and then 8.6 yards per reception. So smaller sample size. That is the best clip of his career since 2017, which is only his second year in the league. So not terrible on a yards per reception basis. Still has sure hands. They didn't do him any favors by getting the ball 2.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but in a dump off situation, that's not unheard of. 2.55 yards after contact per attempt. Career average is 2.88. So he's really not that far behind his career average when it comes to how he's able to absorb blows and break tackles. Now, is he less elusive in the open field? Does he lack the burst that he used to have to really get through there and hit the hole? Probably yes. But as far as the physicality of him, which is I think more why we're bringing him in, I think he's still got it a little bit, like belonging on an NFL roster level, but deserving of playing time. Let's put it that way. And I'm not saying we need to start giving him 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 yards per carry, but depth at the position is huge. I will say his career average elusive rating is 38.4. He has a 20.8 on this season. I don't know if that's the worst of his career, but it's definitely down there. Again, like I just talked about, he's losing that burst. He's losing that jump. But I just don't think that's what we're bringing him in for. What I do think we're bringing him in for is pass blocking situations. He has a 59.8 pass blocking grade. That's PFF. And I want to preface this real quick. PFF grades are not the end-all, be-all. I know we all kind of know that. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the Bible, but on certain grades like that, it is valuable information because it is one of the only ways that I know to go and quantify it without sitting there and watching a million minutes of film. So 59.8 pass blocking grade for reference. Haskins has a 52.9 pass blocking grade, so lower. Kamani actually surprising because I thought that was my favorite thing about him coming into the draft, is that he'd be a good third down back with good pass blocking ability. But 47.1 pass blocking grade. So outside of Dobbins, he is going to be the best pass blocker. Now, one thing I will say, Dobbins has a great pass blocking grade. He's done a really good job in that side of things. But again, he's your primary back. He does need rest. He has been hurt. So it makes sense to give him something else. But Dobbins has by far outclassed him in that regard. So I don't think that anybody's going to take that role away from J.K. Dobbins. I don't think that's what he's coming in here to do. But down at the 1-2 yard line, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 situations, I don't mind having Zeke in there to come in there, be a physical back, and try and gain those couple yards. The other thing I want to point out on all those stats that I kind of pulled up from Zeke this year is that's in the Cowboys offense, which hasn't looked good. The offensive line has looked disheveled a lot of times. Like I said, he was never fed the ball, so he couldn't really get going. So I think he's going to put up better numbers and better results in our offense. And again, I just think that that's what we're bringing him in here to do. What I mentioned, 3.1 yards per carry. 3.1 yards per carry. Hassan Haskins, 2.6 yards per carry on the season. Granted, he's turned it up a lot in the last 2 weeks. He's looked a lot better, but still, and again, he also gets the short yardage situation. Very similar role as to what Zeke had to start the year. So I would rather have Zeke right now than Hassan Haskins playing serious minutes once he's up to speed, or at least have the option to be able to put him in. And I want to keep Dobbins off the field a little bit more. And I don't say that in a bad way. I say that I want to keep him fresh. I want to make sure he lasts. I don't want him running into the pile on short yardage situations because I want him to stay healthy and not take those additional hits, because the season has worn down on him. Yes, he's balled out overall. His stats were a little bit inflated by the first couple of weeks. He's still been an incredible value for the signing, but he hasn't gone over 100 rushing yards in a game since week 2. Some good catches in there, some good catch and runs to where he had total yardage that was up there, but hasn't gone over 100 rushing yards since week 2. And he's been held under 65 yards 8 out of 11 games since week 2. So he's been shut down in situations. And so, again, keeping him fresh, keeping Zeke rolling. I'm not mad about the signing, guys. Like, what's there to be mad about? It's not money out of my pocket that we paid to sign him, so we had the roster position to let loose. It's not like that's a huge thing. It's not like we went out here and cut Kamani Vidal to put him onto the roster. No. And so I think it adds a nice piece of depth. It adds a veteran presence who's not going to be too small for the moment. And it gives us a little bit of a bruiser in those short yarded situations, which he's shown that he can excel at even as he's getting older. But no, we're not getting 2018 Zeke out here. We know that. But I think it's going to be a really nice fit for our offense. I think it fits with what Roman and Harbaugh want to do. And I'm excited to see what he can bring us in the playoffs. If it's nothing, it's nothing. If the coaches decide that they get him in practice and see that they'd rather continue to feed the ball to Haskins and Vidal, cool. That doesn't hurt my feelings either. But I'd be excited to just see how he can slide in here and what he can bring to the team and to the offense, and specifically in those short yardage situations. And I'm not even mad about the passing situation either. Third down, pass blocking can leak out into the flat and grab it, especially if JK's off the field. Otherwise, obviously, that should be JK's role. But that is something we've missed this year without Eckler. With the pressures that Herbert gets from the interior, having a short dump off isn't a bad thing. Or just the extra help pass blocking at the actual front of the line of scrimmage. So I'm not mad about it. One thing I am mad about is that he's wearing 24. It's weird. It looks weird to me for some reason, him in 24. And also, how dare you disgrace the great Ryan Matthews? That was a joke. Hope everybody giggled a little bit at that one. But no, I'm excited. I'm happy to have him on the team. I'm happy to see that we're still willing to make moves, and whether it works out great or does nothing, what I don't think we're going to do is trot him out here and give him a bunch of snaps and carries and watch him run at 2.2 yards per carry. I don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think that's what we brought him in to do. And so, yeah, I have all the faith in Ortiz and this vision, and I'm excited to have another piece on the team. Talk to you soon, guys. If you liked this video, please give me a follow on Twitter or X at Erdman Chargers, shown on the graphic here, or subscribe to my YouTube channel at Nature's Calls Pod.